In 2018, the game Celeste released and went viral. I played it a few years later in 2020, and genuinely didn't think very much of it. I liked it and thought it was good, but it didn't leave too big of an impression on me. I mean, I liked it and thought it was good, but in comparison to other platformers I had played, it didn't really stand out to me. So a little under 6 years later, I decided to replay the game because I was interested to see how my perspective on the game would change, and also because I didn't think the game was bad originally. All I remembered were memes calling the game niche and some kind of hidden gem, and the trans people can double jump meme. I mean, it's more like they can dash, but close enough. Coming back to the game, my opinion improved a lot, and now it's one of my favorite games that I've played. I liked it so much that I played through all the extra B side levels and the post-game chapters. I think everything about this game is really good, even though it's honestly initially pretty simple. But upon replaying the game, I can appreciate how subtle the depth to this game is. There are a good amount of mechanics throughout the game, and the game uses each of them to their fullest capabilities. The controls are really good and lead to fun movement. I love how as the game progresses you improve at the controls to the point where coming back to the earlier levels feels like I can play them completely differently and more optimally. Obviously, yes, playing a game will make you get better at it, but with Celeste specifically, understanding how the dash works really makes the game more fun to play. I think the difficulty progression is nearly perfect, and I didn't think there were any obnoxious difficulty spikes. The level structure in this game is really unique, at least in comparison to other platformers I've played. Because with every room essentially being a checkpoint, the levels more so feel like puzzle rooms where you have to figure out the best way to pilot your character to get to the end. I think the game is visually incredible, like the detail that goes into every part of the background is nice. Some effects are especially impressive, like I don't even know how they managed to animate the hair so smoothly in this 8-bit art style. This might have just been me, but very rarely when playing, I feel like some objects such as spikes blended into the background. I mean, obviously when watching the footage, things stand out a lot more obviously, but playing, my field of view is mostly dedicated to controlling Madeline and whatever else is nearby, so it could just be me. The levels all look really good and distinct, and for 99% of the time, everything was pretty clear and easy to distinguish. The sound effects in the game are really good, and I like the effort they put into making the different terrain sound unique to interact with. The writing in this game is pretty good and honestly funny at times. There aren't a lot of characters, which is fine because the ones that are here feel like they get a good amount of focus. I liked Madeline, Theo, and the old lady, and feel like the interactions between these characters are well written. Here are my opinions about each chapter in the game. Chapter 1. I really like this chapter and think it is a good start to the game. The simple terrain really works as a playground to get to understand the controls, and even after beating the game, it's fun to try and progress through the level as fast as possible. Going back to my point on how rooms feel more like puzzles, a lot of the sections throughout the chapter can be completed in so many different ways that I didn't even think of when I was playing for the first time. The strawberries are also good and very fun to collect. For the most part, they are very well hidden and it was fun finding them. When I was playing through the game, I tried to collect all the strawberries because I found it fun to engage with all the challenging rooms they are in. The introduction of moving platforms really completes the movement in this game by adding a whole other level to the controls. Like without momentum, the controls would be good, but with it, they become enhanced and it feels like there is a lot more potential. This chapter looks really nice. I like the blue and brown terrain. The abandoned city theme is done really well, especially with these stupid billboards. My favorite part about this chapter was the Undertale reference. I thought it was pretty clever. Compared to the later chapters, there is not much that really stands out. I mean, you're mostly just learning how to dash and climb, but whether you're experienced or new to the game, I think this is a fun chapter. Chapter 2. Honestly, this is probably my least favorite chapter in the game. It's pretty short and compared to the other chapters, there's not a lot going on. It also doesn't help that visually there is not a lot going on as everything is pretty dark. The blob platform is pretty fun even if it doesn't get to be used that much. The random unorganized little bits of terrain at the end are actually a good touch in my opinion because I think it helps convey how Madeline's mental state is deteriorating. I do think the chapter is very good narratively and even has a depiction of a panic attack that I think can be taken seriously. The introduction of the character part of you is done really well, and I also think she works as a good obstacle that forces you to get better at the controls by adding some urgency to the movement. Throughout the game, each chapter has a secret heart placed within it, and honestly most are incredibly cryptic, which I don't think is bad because they're only required for bonus and post-game content. The one in this chapter stands out to me because I like how it is easy to find and how there is a good hint as to how to find it, but I feel like the method of obtaining it was a little stupid. Like even after beating the game and understanding the mechanics, it kind of felt like cheese. Not exactly like an exploit of the game's mechanics, but a little weird. I almost feel like had this chapter been a little shorter, it could have been attached to the end of chapter 1, like some type of chapter 1 plus 2 experience. Especially because the first 2 chapters are a lot shorter in comparison to the other chapters. Not the craziest chapter, but I definitely think the game picks up from here. Chapter 3. Off the bat, I think this level is one of the best in the game. I mean, the level starts with this familiar sounding bell. The new obstacles aren't the craziest, but I think the moving blob things work as a really good obstacle, especially the first time through, because they were really challenging. The gameplay in this chapter is really good, especially all the hidden strawberries. I think the level is the perfect length. I like this retro game you get to play. Honestly, it's pretty fun. It is a great addition to the game, and I think the fact that it's just thrown in here and kept niche adds to its charm. I haven't talked about the music in this game yet, and I think it's really good, but some songs such as the one in this chapter stand out a lot. I like how the music in the levels amps up as you play through it. The ending of the level where the hotel manager chases you down introduces the dodging attacks from an enemy section that are expanded on later in the game, and I vibe with how that you are mainly supposed to dodge the attack, but can also use it as an extra bounce. The mechanic is something that is really pushed to its limits in the bonus levels, and I think it's established here very well. I really like how this level looks. The red looks very nice, the little blob creatures, and just how all the books and stuff shift subtly adds a lot to the level. And getting to the end and seeing the beautiful sky after being cooped up in the hotel was a great way to end the stage. This is the point where the game really gets going. Chapter 4. Many new mechanics are introduced throughout Chapter 4, and I really like them, especially the wind and the moving block you control, because they tie into the momentum mechanic. I also think the amount of new mechanics stands out because in comparison to previous chapters, a lot are introduced, and I think it works due to them being simple, but they get greatly expanded upon. I think this level is visually very good. The whole time the background is the one from the end of Chapter 3, and I still think it looks good, especially because of all the visual details like with the wind and even the flags interacting with it. I also love all the little visual touches added, like these birds look really cool during the vertical part, and the tombstones in the level really show how they asked a lot of questions about how this world would work when they made the game. The level design is good, particularly because of how the strawberries are handled. There isn't a lot going on the main level if you aren't trying to collect them, but if you are, it feels like the level becomes a lot better. I also think this is true for a lot of the other levels, which I don't think is bad, because with the strawberries, it really feels like the game gives you as much as you give it. I really like the secret heart here because in comparison to most others, it is extremely easy to find, and also because it pays homage to Mario 3. I wonder what it must have been like to be a gamer during the 1980s. I mean, it was a decade that was inspired by Stranger Things. The ending to this chapter is really well done, especially with how the background changes. I thought the feather bit helped make the narrative feel more engaging. At this point in the game, this is my favorite chapter because it is good and the game tries a lot of new things due to the player understanding the ropes, and the best part is that there are even better chapters later in the game. Chapter 5. There are some new mechanics added in this chapter which are really cool, such as the platforms that move when you dash and the level up orb from Chapter 4. There aren't a lot more mechanics, at least in the first 75% of the level, but the game gets away with it because it uses every mechanic to its fullest. If I haven't made it clear up to this point, I think the level design is very good, not just in this level, but throughout the whole game. Getting into the flow and exploring the cave to find strawberries is fun. Visually, the darkness of the cave is like Chapter 2, but it works a lot better due to the light crystals, which make the level really fun to traverse because you get to see more as you progress. The whole game reminds me of Super Midshine because it takes place in one connected location, yet does a lot with each individual area. One of my favorite parts of the level is the scene where you can control the creature that chases Madeline. One, because the scene kind of reminds me of Sonic EXE, and also because I think it adds a lot to the themes in the narrative. I assume the fact that Madeline is essentially unable to move even though she's trying to is an allegory to how trans people feel trapped inside their body like pre-transition. And also the scene does a good job of highlighting the stress she's experiencing in the level. I think this part is pretty cool. After this, the level kind of goes on a little too long. Like the section before the end where you collect the keys is fun and well designed, but I think it should have been cut out, and the level should have ended with the bit that comes after this. Maybe the devs are worried that some players might not care about finding the strawberries and just wanted to make getting from point A to point B feel long enough. But even then, I still feel like it isn't worth it because when you are trying to collect the strawberries, it feels like a bit too much. The final section at the end where you have to carry Theo to the end is incredible and is my favorite part of the game up to this point. I think the challenge of having to deal with a limited moveset and also trying to carry him through each section is super fun, especially due to the physics of throwing him. It leaves the puzzles feeling super fun. The level visually looks super good during this part. The eyes, the colors, and the decorations on the wall look good without feeling cluttered. I also like how the eyeball creature's colors kind of contrast Madeline's, like when it's not dashing it's blue, but when it is it's red, which is the opposite of how it works for Madeline. When I first played this level I thought it was good, but I thought the length was a bit overwhelming. And even though I still think that the level is too long, the chapter is really great, and especially because of the ending, it is very unique in a good way. Chapter 6. I really like the intro to the chapter. Talking to Theo and part of you is a good way to set up for the rest of the chapter. The visuals during the intro part are majestic. This section is seriously one of, if not the best looking part of the game. The music throughout this chapter is great, and I appreciate how much it changes to add to the town. Getting into the design of the level, I think it is cool how there are no strawberries, but there's a B-side. It kind of reflects how no matter what, there's always a good Celeste and an evil Celeste. The different routes you can take in the first half of the level are cool, and I think it makes the stage more fun to replay. The mechanics introduced are also good, especially the feather because it is the most unique feeling one in the whole game, and flying around with it is fun. The block that requires you to dash into it also stands out because it requires you to lose a resource to use it, and there's just some good challenges, especially in the bonus levels. The part before the fight, when the evil Celeste references the Sans fight, was cool. This level has the closest thing to an actual boss fight in the game, but it still feels like a normal level. I actually think this works well because it essentially just plays like a normal level. Like the goal is just to get to the end of the screen, but the attacks are fun to dodge and they change up how you approach the level. At the end of the boss, the level starts glitching out like, what is this, some kind of Pibby glitch? After the fight, we gain a new ability like, what is this, some kind of double dash? Fun level and a great build up into the final non-bonus level. Chapter 7. The different areas you travel through in the chapter look cool. I like how they are reused from previous levels, like it makes me feel nostalgic for the journey you've been on to get to this point. The way the music changes throughout the level is incredible. It really helps ramp up the town. A great detail I like about this level is that Madeline's idle animation actually changes compared to previous chapters. Also, seeing the meters go up after each section was a great touch and made the level feel satisfying to play. Every little minute detail in this chapter helps sell how hyped the level is. The level is essentially just one big marathon in which the player has to revisit all the old mechanics they have seen throughout the game. The addition of the double dash is fun because it allows the level to change up how the mechanics are used while still keeping things difficult. The strawberries in this level are the best in the entire game. Like, they are incredibly challenging to get, and even replaying this level after playing through the B-side levels, they still required effort to get. This cloud strawberry might be my favorite in the whole game because in the main campaign you aren't really required to use the cloud all that much. But in order to get this strawberry, you need to fully understand how it works. So it was difficult, but was worth getting. Sometimes it can be tricky to tell which route would lead you to bonuses and which way would lock you out of strawberries. It's not the end of the world because you can still replay each level from specific checkpoints, but it's still a little annoying. Chapter 7 parallels how in Chapter 6 you use part of you as a way to progress. Like in Chapter 6, she is trying to prevent you from clearing the stage, while in Chapter 7 she's trying to be helpful. I think the gameplay in this game does a lot to help the narrative. On replay, I can appreciate the level in a new way. Now it is nowhere near as difficult for me as it was the first time, but it still takes a good chunk of time to complete, and going for as many strawberries as I can makes the level feel engaging. The final section of the level is really good, just the constant reminders of how close you are to the end. The confetti that the flags give you is a really nice touch. I think this might be the best secret heart in the game because it requires you to find all these uncut gems in each section. The wind pushing you up and down in this area is great. Really makes every decision feel like an important resource. It's like the whole time there at this game there is never even a boss. But then you realize that the whole time the mountain is the big boss.
The boss, or Big Boss.
I mean, even the title screen foreshadows it. Like, the title of the game is at the bottom, which represents how we start at the bottom and we have to climb all the way up. What a great title screen. After completing an incredibly difficult level, you get to enjoy the view at the end. Welcome to paradise. In many games there are many challenges, like unlocking incredible characters, but this level is one of my favorite challenges in gaming. This is my favorite level in the entire game. Now I'm going to talk about the bonus chapters, which are after the main campaign, so spoiler warning. Chapter 8. This whole level is very linear, like there are barely any strawberries to collect, and the B-side and secret heart are unavoidable. It definitely helps the level feel pretty distinct from the others, at least in terms of how the level is formatted. Dashes are treated as more of a serious resource because the level makes it so you don't regain your powers after you touch the ground.
Why is this happening to me?
The new mechanics introduced in this level are really fun, especially the wall conveyor, and these logs you can jump off of. The ability to change the level from fire to ice is cool, especially the end where you have to manage it so the ceiling and floor give you enough room to travel through it. I also really like how blue the level looks in the ice version. My first playthrough, I thought this dash regenerator was next to a sprout of a plant. Like, I thought it was supposed to be the only bit of life growing inside of the cave to symbolize how important the dash regenerator is as a resource, but it's just a bit of lava. Like, it's cool, but if I made the game, I would have gone with my idea. The level design is pretty solid, especially on my first playthrough, I found playing through each section to be very difficult. I mean, the level is literally gate-kept by finding secret hearts, and I feel like it is easier to play through the B-side challenges than find these cryptic secret hearts in the main levels without a guide. So I think the game does a good job of preparing the player. Also, you have to complete every main level to get here in the first place. One of my favorite parts was this one where you fly through these flames of disaster. Like, it makes it so you have to really understand using the feather, and because of the controls, it feels good to play there. An incredible part in this level is this screen. It is incredible because it seems impossible unless you play this other entire section, but you can skip it. Like, it's not easy, but it's doable. I really appreciate how the game always leaves little opportunities to reward you for understanding how the controls work. During my first playthrough, I just accepted that it must be impossible, but coming back I was able to enjoy the game in a new way. This section at the end is really cool. I like how Madeline becomes a nostalgia critic. The level is pretty fun. It's honestly kind of weaker in comparison to other chapters, but I think it does some things like the level design really well. It's just that some things feel kind of generic, like this lava rising bit. I know I haven't talked about any of the B-sides, but this one is notable to me because apart from just being more difficult and using the mechanics in more difficult and interesting scenarios like the other B-sides, it also transforms the ending bit from just a narrative bit to actually kind of challenging and creative gameplay. Chapter 8 was fun. I like how the change in how the dash works impacted the gameplay, but I don't think it was one of the strongest chapters. Chapter 9. After playing the game, I found out that this chapter is not included with the base game and was actually a free update. I was surprised by this because the chapter fits into the game extremely well, and I also think it is a better level to end the game on than Chapter 8. This is by far the most challenging level in the game, and for the most part, I think it is really fun. The new mechanics such as this fish and the jellyfish are used really well in this level. But one of my favorite parts of the level from a level design perspective is how those springs are used. Throughout the game, springs weren't really utilized much. I mean, all you can do is just bounce off of them. But this chapter pushes them to their limit and genuinely makes incredible use of them. This level has one massive issue, in my opinion. Its length is extremely long. Like, it took me 5.5 hours to complete it. It took me like 6 to play through the first 7 chapters. I don't think an extremely long chapter is a bad thing. I mean, it's not like I played it all in one setting. The reason I like Chapter 7, which is a chapter I would consider pretty long, I mean, nowhere near as long as this, but it took me like an hour and a half to complete on my first playthrough, is because there are constant reminders of your progress throughout, and it feels like you are getting somewhere. Even though all the screens in Chapter 9 were really fun and well designed, I was just waiting for something like a cutscene to happen to give me a little hope. I get this was done to convey the idea that Madeline is chasing this crow around like Frankenstein was chasing his creation, but sometimes there's too much of a good thing. Like, there's enough in this level to fill out 2 chapters. Also, I just want to talk about this crow. Like, the foreshadowing in the earlier chapters is incredible.
That fucking bird that I hate.
That fucking bird that I hate. That fucking bird that I hate.
That fucking bird that I hate.
I like the music, but it honestly felt repetitive, which is probably due to the length of the stage, because hearing the songs loop over and over again was not the greatest. Also, something I don't really like about this level is how the check for all the hearts you need to get is a good bit into the level. Like, I'm pretty sure you can just go collect the hearts and then resume the level at a checkpoint, but it feels weird to just have the level kind of pause. This wasn't an issue to me because I had enough hearts from playing all the B-sides and looking up where the secret hearts were, but I still don't like it. Despite the length being obnoxious, I still really like the level. I love the background and how things get added to it as you progress. One part of the level I really liked was this section where you need to complete these 5 jellyfish minigames to progress. It kind of reminded me of Mario Odyssey, because in that game there were a bunch of sub-areas where you have to use a mechanic to get a moon, and or an extra secret moon, because those sections really push the mechanics to their limits, like these rooms in Chapter 9. Another great thing about the level is this section where you learn about wave dashing. I think I get the reference. I think the mechanic is taught really well. I like the power for introducing it. And I think it is fun to wave dash because it is something you can just do at any point in the game, which adds more depth to the earlier levels and because it is required in this level. The final screen in the level might be the best in the entire game. Like, you have to do this incredibly challenging like 2.5-minute sections with no breaks. It doesn't sound that bad, but actually playing through it was fun because the game pushes you to the absolute limit. Chapter 9 is very fun and incredible, but I think the length of it is just a little bit too much for me. No part of the level was bad, but it just kept going, and then I would hope the level would be wrapping up and then it would just keep going. I think narratively it was a great way to end the game, and it was a very enjoyable challenge. After beating the game, I unlocked the seasides and golden strawberries, but I have no intention to try to collect them now. Like, I was perfectly happy with everything I played. I might go back in the future and play through them. I like the seaside in Chapter 1, which is the only one I played. But as for getting all the golden strawberries, the game wants you to marathon entire chapters without the ability to respawn at checkpoints, which includes Chapter 9.
That's okay. You can keep it.
Celeste is a great game, and I'm very glad I replayed it. If you like 2D platformers, then this is one I would highly recommend, or even if you are interested in checking out the genre. That's all I really have to say. W Game, thanks for watching.